Greetings, cultivators worldwide. Jordan River here, back with more GrowCast, the cheese curds to your poutine. Today, we have a brand new guest on the line from north of the border. Grower Joe from Basement Grow Show is here to talk about Canadian cannabis, his history, creating content for cannabis, and so much more. It's a really cool episode. Let me know what you guys think. I really liked this crossover collab, and we hope to see Grower Joe again. Before we get started, shout out to Rain Science Grow Bags, the best containers to grow cannabis in, hands down. RainscienceGrowBags.com, code GrowCast gets you 10% off. And of course, members of the Order of Cultivation get 20% off their Rain Science Grow Bags. Rain Science Grow Bags are made out of mesh and they last a lifetime. These are the last bags you're ever going to need to buy. They're durable, they're washable. You can run them through the ringer and they're still going to perform. Now, unlike fabric bags, they don't get all nasty. You can clean them out extremely easily and reuse them again every single time. Plus, you get that air pruning, right? When the roots grow through the edges of the pots, they get hit by the sunlight, they die off, and then they grow thicker on the inside. You don't want those plastic or ceramic pots because the roots just hit that wall and they spin and they spin and they spin. So go ahead and grab yourself some Rain Science Grow Bags. It's the last containers you'll ever buy. Use code GrowCast. Members of the Order of Cultivation.com getting 20% off at GrowCastPodcast.com/membership. Thank you to Rain Science Grow Bags. They've got everything you need from seedling cones to 3 gallons, 5 gallons, 10 gallons, 15 gallons, 25 gallons, and above, living soil beds, and so much more, all at RainscienceGrowBags.com. Code GrowCast for 10% off. Thank you to Rain Science Grow Bags. All right, let's get into it with Grower Joe. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to GrowCast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in again today. Before we get started, as always, I urge you to share the show. It's the best thing you can do for us. Turn a grower onto GrowCast or turn a smoker onto growing. Help us with our mission of Overgrow. See everything we're doing at GrowCastPodcast.com/action. There you can find all the action, including membership, seeds, classes, and so much more. Thank you for being part of the GrowCast community. Today, we have a brand new guest on the line. I was fortunate enough to be on his show recently. He is a grower. He is a social media content creator, a streamer, podcast host, and so much more from Basement Grow Show and much more. As I said, we have Grower Joe on the line with us right now. What's up, Grower Joe?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. Great intro, man. Just throwing that right off the cuff. That is delivered from the soul, dude. I love it, man. That's awesome.
It's easy to riff with you, brother.
What you're doing. 100%, dude.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show. Really, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on your show. I love doing guest spots, and you're a great host, man. You're a great content creator. I see you doing your thing. You put out a lot of great social content, educational content, funny content. I've been watching you. I like what you're doing, man. I want to get into everything today. I want to get into content creation. I want to get into your grow, what's going on up in Canada. There's a lot I want to cover today, but let's start from the beginning. For listeners, first-time listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you into growing, and then what got you into growing content.
100%, man. It's funny how it's like all transferring into this whole content creation thing now. But at the end of the day, that's what I am first, man. I'm a grower. I started growing my own cannabis here about 4 years ago, just because I couldn't afford to buy it anymore. And I was consuming it, what I thought was medically, but at the time, I think it was more like recreational. Now I'm using it a bit more, I guess, mindfully, man. But I grow cannabis at my home in my basement here, guys. And I'm kind of figuring it out as we grow. And as the channel gets bigger, I get into more things and I get into more cultivars and different ways of growing and bigger community things and podcasts for companies. And I'm kind of just becoming my own little show over here, man. And I call myself Grower Joe because I'm a grower, not a shower, man. No, I'm just kidding on that. But I'm just having some fun, guys. I'm just one of you guys. I'm somebody that likes weed, likes growing it, likes smoking it. And I like the people that are involved in it, man, at the end of the day, Jordan. That's what it is for me, dude.
Oh, I totally agree. Some fascinating characters. So you're a regular Joe, is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, man. Like, I kind of just started down here in my basement, man. A little grow tent set up with a Burple light here a few years back, man. And I kind of just got my feet wet. There wasn't really a whole lot of people sharing content like this. And as you know, man, there's more and more of us getting on here every day, sharing our stories and sharing what we're doing with this plant. And I kind of just dove right in, man, and decided I'm going to grow weed and I'm going to show people how I grow it, whether that helps them or just motivates them to get in the garden, whatever it is, man, I'm going to put my face out there. And that was the big thing, starting to show my face and communicating that with the grower side of things. And I think nowadays it's like this new kind of thing that people are doing, right? Like there's a lot of growers online that are sharing their gardens. That's where it started for me, man. Just kind of being able to fill my stash jars without emptying my wallet, dude.
Well, I love that. And it's funny that you mentioned like putting yourself out there, right? Because in the cannabis community, first of all, we've been trained to be completely underground, right? Like we're conditioned to be secretive and all of that because of the illegalization. Now, as things come online, part of breaking the stigma is people sharing their grows, right? And it really does start with the people who are open about like broadcasting it quite literally, people like yourself. And it does take a little bit of, I don't know, cojones or something, because you put yourself out there, you put your garden out there, you're probably going to receive some nasty comments, right? For every 100 people that you inspire and help, someone's going to jump in your comments and say, hey, your garden looks like shit. You don't know how to grow. So it's like a little bit of, I would say it's a little bit of a service what you do. It helps the destigmatization. It's not always, all roses and fun. But at the end of the day, if you do it for long enough, now you have a following, you have fans that want to support you. And it really is worth it, man. And I think it does, like I said, kind of push forward for the whole community, this idea of destigmatization, people just showing their garden, showing their face, and not being so afraid, Yeah,
man. Like originally, like if you looked on these platforms 5 years ago, you were only seeing like pretty much animals, man. Like these crazy dudes that were like doing like 3 gram dabs. Like you guys are animals. Some of you guys are listening. I love you, but you guys are animals, right? And there's a certain aspect of like just the average person doing this and consuming and growing, right? That like just opens it up a bit more. And at first, man, I was scared shitless because I thought like, I'm going to lose my job. Like, what's my mom going to think of this? What's my dad going to think? What are my friends going to think, man? And then eventually I was like, you know what? Frig this, man. Like I was 34 at the time. Like I'm 34 years old. I got kids. I got my own house. Like, what's the worst case, man? To lose my job? Well, that could happen on this too. Like you lose my platform, but
lose any job. Yeah.
You go get another job, right? I'm good at what I do. And I was fortunate enough to take that risk, but it is scary, man. But I do encourage like people to like show their grows, show your family, talk to your coworkers, because they know you're smoking weed, man. They smell it on you. They see it on your eyes. And I think the more normal people that you kind of spread it out to, the more normal this is really going to be for all of us, man.
Yes. And I think especially like the sheeple will wait until the laws change. And now that the laws have changed, you don't let me put words in your mouth, but when you decided to make that change and put yourself out there, were you surprised at how little pushback you got? Like to me, people are mostly interested. Even normies are like slightly interested. And I can only think of a handful of times where people were like, oh, you know what I mean? But you tell me, maybe it's different in Canada.
You're pretty much bang on, man. Like I've been well received everywhere, man. Like I've got a few, like I would call them haters out there, but the majority of people that are even in my comments and in my DMs and in my community, man, are really all positive. I mean, there's a few bad apples there, and then locally, like my local community, like my work and things like that. Like I recently quit my job here about 8 months ago, man. And I've been doing this now full time because my community, God bless you. I know you guys are listening here too, and make sure you like and subscribe and do everything over here on this platform, man. And whatever platform Jordan has, because we need to share this stuff. But I've been fortunate enough to have a fucking really strong community of people that just support me, man. Whether I'm dropping a hoodie or whether I'm partnering with a brand, man, there's been people there to just like lift me up and allow me to do this, man. And I've been taking it for really, I just feel grateful, man, that I'm able to do this and be able to get paid to do it. But mind you guys, this is a lot of work, man. Like just filming this episode, guys, like it's an hour of time, but then Jordan's going to go in and edit it and produce it and put it onto platforms and allow it to get in front of you guys, man. So you need to take that effort to make sure you guys do your job and share it too, because that's the only way that we're going to get in front of more brands. And then the more we get in front of brands, the more opportunity is for people out there now that are starting to share their grows. Like, I think this is going to turn into a career, man, for a lot of people.
Oh, 100%.
Whether you're podcasting or running events like you just did, dude. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
You got to provide that value, man. And you're doing it. Like you said, I mean, I used to drywall for a living, right? So for me, none of this is hard work, but holy shit, is it work? It's constant. It depends on how far you want to take it. And for us, it's like we're about overgrow. That's our whole fucking mission, which is if everybody who wanted to grow did grow, there would be enough food and medicine for everybody. Bottom line. So the more people we can get out in front of, the better we achieve that mission. Now, I want to kind of bring it back around to your story and specifically north of the border, because I've been really focused. I mean, we're worldwide at GrowCast, but I've been really focused on the United States. Obviously, there's a lot going on over the border that I just don't know about. You know what I mean? So I would love to hear from your perspective and the Canadian perspective. Like, what is the cannabis scene like up there? Are people open to it? Is this idea of overgrow actually spreading, or do you not like the way that the cannabis market has been going?
It's been frustrating, man, for us here because we're legal, 100% legal. You can grow it, you can buy it, recreational and medically.
Oh, you sound excited, bro. You just got really monotone. Is it a fucked up legal program?
Here's the fucking thing terrible? With it, dude. Here's the thing with it, man. You're only allowed to grow 4 plants, okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, man, but it doesn't matter if you got 4 plants. You're going to take up 4 plants in a room, and if you want to pull a pound off that plant, you're going to only be able to have 1 in 10.
Yep.
So then you need a space for 3 tenths or 4 tenths. And I don't know about you, man, but I think that you should be able to have as many as you want at the time.
Fuck yeah.
Let's say you can only flower 4. Sure, that's fine. But even that's not enough, man. So they just don't understand it, right? It's like people that weren't involved in cannabis made these fucking rules up for us, and they don't understand how it really works. And they thought that gangsters and drug dealers and people that were being bad guys, but not necessarily being bad guys, they were breaking the law, but they were doing a good thing, trying to get cannabis in front of people to help people out. And at the end of the day, man, they didn't realize that, like, you really need a ridiculous amount of plants to take advantage of this.
Yes.
Like, you need hundreds, right? So like 25, 30, those would be ideal numbers. That way because they're counting these plants, Jordan, in veg and flower. It doesn't matter. So you have 4, dude. So you know for a fact you got more than 4, right? Now, luckily, I was able to go to a doctor and get a prescription, and I'm allowed to grow 157. I don't ever grow that many.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can get your numbers up. So there's these even like programs now of these people, these doctors are just working at home doing voice video calls with people. You tell them what's wrong with you. They write you a script. You send it in the government sends you a license. So it's more of like a money drive thing, man, almost.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's like they want you to have to pay for a license, right? So it's been frustrating, man. And then the consumption side of things and these dispensaries, it's all ran by the government, man. So even if you don't grow your own, man. The stuff you're buying in the store is garbage, dude. It's been sitting on shelves. We're getting the last amount of it here locally, and it's like there's no real pride. And the crazy thing is those growers have only been growing for about as long as I have, right, man. If you think about it, or they're bringing in a master grower, but these master growers, and I don't care who you are, legacy, legal, however long you've been around. A lot of these people haven't been growing for more than 25 years. And I don't know about you, man, but that's not really that crazy long of a time either, man. We're all pretty damn new, whether you're 5 years in or 20 years. And we really don't know much about this plant because it's been sheltered so much, right?
Yeah.
So it's frustrating in Canada, man. I'm hoping it's going to change. But our government in general up here is messed up, man. Not to get political, but it's like we're in a rough spot, man. Canada has changed a lot since COVID, dude.
Right. I can tell, man. I see that kind of brewing across the border. And I don't know how much of it is just what I hear over here, right? And how much of it is actually boots on the ground. But you say that the legal quality over there is largely trash. That's what I've heard. I've heard there's some exceptions that are producing in the large scale legal market, but I heard that almost across the board it was mids quality, essentially.
Yeah, the guys that are killing it are the guys like you or I that have been smoking weed their whole lives and they've been growing. These guys have been growing longer than me, and they snuck through the doors. They were able to make it work somehow financially. You know what I mean? Because you need big money to get into it because everything needs to be set up by the government. Like even their research and development team, they need to hire them, but then the government needs to approve that employee. It's like, this sounds crazy, man. Like you're going to tell me how to do it, then you're going to tell me who I can hire.
Yeah.
It's wild. And they've got it on lock because there's so much money there, so much money to be made. And I think they don't really want the home grower to come through, man. I think they want you buying from them so then they can get taxes, right? They don't want us growing our own shit. And I think it's funny that you said the whole growing wide thing. It's like, we're not just talking about weed here. We're talking vegetables. We're talking everything, man. You really should be growing everything of your own.
They're going to poison cannabis just like they poisoned our food supply. I mean, just give it time. Just like they poisoned tobacco. It seems to be a common recurring theme. And I reject the idea that home growers are going to put these people out of business. I do think it'll take up some of their market. But at the end of the day, these companies will be just fine. There are going to be people who buy from these companies and enrich them. We just need to make sure they don't step on our rights, right? And you said 4 plants. 4 plants is a lot better than 0. But you also made a good point, which is like, you say this is in the name of safety, but you don't even understand how much scale it takes to actually put a dent in these other industries. You know what I'm saying? Like, the difference between 4 plants and 40 plants is pretty negligible. They don't seem to realize that.
I don't think they even understand, like, they only let you carry an ounce on you too. Like,
that's weird.
Well, what if I want to bring an ounce and give an ounce to my buddy, and then I want like a few fucking grams to smoke with me for the day? It's
that's
like
bizarre.
It's weird, right? It's just bizarre. Like, we're grown adults, man. If I want to bring a pound of weed around with me, I should be able to bring a pound of weed around with me.
Yeah, you can bring a whole truck of alcohol.
Like, I did a video here the other day, Jordan, where I brought a flowering plant inside of a store and pretended like I was buying this plant, because in my mind, I thought, I just want to bring awareness to this plant and show people what a flowering plant looks like.
That's great.
Actually quite pretty, right? And I bring it in there, man, and everything goes well. And then I post it online. The people were very responsive. They loved it. They were great with it. I post it online, man, and I get an inbox, and they're like, dude, you got to be careful. That is highly illegal. And I'm like, what? So then I look up the law, and it actually is illegal, man. So I'll never do it again. But the problem is, I'm like, why the fuck? It's a little tiny autoflower, man. Yep. It's no bigger than 14 inches high. It's got barely an ounce of weed on it. And I just wanted to see how people reacted to it.
Yeah, you're proving a point.
So well. And it's so messed up, man. We're like criminals and we're adults. So weird.
You're right. That's absolutely right, man. So Canada's been very strange about it. It's like we're envious of you because they've legalized, but then we see all the crazy shit going on and we're like, whoa, let's go back to the black market and just hiding from police. GrowCast is proud partners with the Foop, organic certified nutrients. I use them. I love them. Find them at thefoop.com, and code GrowCast is 20% off for July only. Get yourself the clone gel, the foliar mist. I love that mist. All the macro and micros that your plant needs, plus microbes, IPM in that thing. Beautiful product. And of course, their flagship organic certified nutrients. I use them in the bloom stage, even when I'm in a rich organic soil. And let me tell you, they make that truffle cake flavor pop. They make that creature feature stink. I love what the Foop does to my plants. I was talking to Larry, and he was asking me what's the biggest problems facing home growers are. And one of the things we talked about was cost, hitting the wallet, right? And immediately Larry said, we're expanding into lawn, we're expanding into garden, and maybe as the Foop grows, we can take some of that pressure off of the home grower pricing. So Larry has already activated 20% off with code GrowCast this month, and let's show our support as Foop continues to grow and move towards lowering their prices for their organic nutrients for all growers across the GrowCast nation and beyond. So I love talking with Larry. He is such a community supporter. He literally put on the community cup with us. He's an amazing, amazing member of the cannabis community, and we love his organic fertilizers and all the science that he's pushing behind it. So shout out to Larry, shout out to Kyle, and shout out to thefoop.com. Code GrowCast 20% off just for this month. Show your love, everybody. And the Foop has been an amazing supporter over the years, so we appreciate you appreciating them. Thefoop.com, code GrowCast, 20% off, and I'm going to go get myself some Foop mist right now, hit my clones with it to perk them up, everybody. Thank you to the Foop. I do want to talk about Canadian cultivars, though. What are people growing up there? What's hot up there? What did you grow up on? I'd just like to hear the whole gamut of what was good weed growing up in Canada and what's happening now.
Yeah, I've got kind of a funny story on that. So good weed to me, man, I didn't really know what it was until the last few years, man, because when I was growing weed up here, man, I live in St. John, New Brunswick. We've got about 70,000 people here in the surrounding area. So it's not a big population. And there was only a few people that were allegedly selling it back in the day, right? So to be honest with you, man, I don't think anybody really even had a dial in on what really was happening in the cannabis industry where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were just like finding bag seeds and selling them and growing those out. And I think they were just taking popular names at the time and calling them that. I don't think I was actually getting what I was supposed to be getting, man, until I started growing my own. So like a lot of the popular strains around here were like White Widows, Purple Kushes, Pineapple Express, things like that. Some of the mainstream stuff that was happening back in the 90s that people were really like popular about. But nowadays, man, I find myself growing like what really is being talked about and what's relevant right now online in this community that I've kind of absorbed myself in. So people reach out and they're like, hey, I heard this guy has bad genetics. I'm like, all right, let's fucking grow them. Let's find out. Oh, I heard got the fire. Okay, let's grow it. Let's find out. There's stories here that I want to dig into, right? And all these breeders nowadays are calling themselves breeders when they're just taking a cut, reversing it, making S1s. And that's a breeder nowadays. But people think it takes time and a long, long time to make seeds. These guys are making these overnight, putting them in front of us. We're growing them. Some of us are finding fire. Some of us are finding herbs. And I think at the end of the day, I've got an opportunity where I can tell these stories and dive into some of these breeders and build those kind of reality shows with inside of our community to show these people like some of these guys are snakes. Some of these guys are okay. You know what I mean? So I'm growing whatever people want me to grow right now. So if you guys got a strain that you want to check out or a breeder you want to check out, you let me know and I'll dive into it. We'll pop it. We'll follow from seed to harvest and then pop that stuff on our YouTube channel, man. So it's like, I'm in this weird place, man, where I'm not as deep as people probably think I am. I'm literally like the kid going to Disneyland for the first time on a lot of these rides, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm experiencing it with them. So I think that's why I had the ability to relate to them so well, because it's all new for me. Like I popped a $1,250 pack here from Copycat Genetics because people were wondering who this crazy character is. And he is a crazy character, let me tell you. But I've also found some pretty crazy genetics inside of his packs too. So I guess I'm growing anything right now, Jordan. Anything and everything, dude.
So it seems that it's just kind of like the rest of North America. You guys are on the same train, right? You're probably ordering a lot of seeds from breeders down here. Is that accurate?
100%, man. There's a big market in US, big market down in Spain. And I think certain people are very good at marketing themselves.
Yes.
Like people are good at building these brands, right? And presenting what the kids are calling the fire. You know what I mean? They got a 38-year-old man over here saying fire. It's ridiculous. I sound like some trap rapper. I'm like, relax. Can we come up with a better name? Can we just call it good weed? Like, come on now.
Oh, that's hilarious, man.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm in all these discords and people are like, hey, you got to check out the newest one is Reverse Genetics. They're from Canada. So I'm like, okay, sure. Canadian boys send it over. I'm growing their stuff. It seems to be going pretty good. I still haven't got to taste it yet, but it looks good. It's covered in crystals. It smells amazing.
Nice.
It's one of those buds that you want to send to your buddy.
What are you growing by them? What's that strain that you're growing?
By them, man, I've got Purple Fuel and I've got Black Oreos. Now I've grown a lot of the Oreo strains, cultivars so far. So I'm excited about the Black Oreos. That's the one that's probably going to make it to the channel because it's a beautiful, beautiful cultivar, man. It's got an amazing smell to the point where I brought my kid to bed the other day and he goes, Dad, you smell like Fruit Loops.
That's a good sign, right?
We
there.
have Fruit Loops? And I'm like, no, we don't have Fruit Loops, bud. And he's 10 and he goes, Dad, it's on your hand. We've got Fruit Loops. Where the heck are the Fruit Loops? I'm like, son, that is something I'm growing, man, right now. He goes, well, that smells amazing. I'm like, you're not wrong, dude.
When you hand it to a non, you know what I mean? Like you hand it to a normie, to a civilian, and then you get the review that it smells just like something sweet or just like berries. That's always a positive, man. Definitely
my father
true.
comes to my basement and he'll check out my grow, and he was like totally against weed his whole life. And he'll check out my grow and he goes, doesn't smell like weed. And I'm like, well, what do you expect the weed smell to? And a lot of the people want that skunk smell for the weed smell, right? But some of these cultivars, man, they smell like beautiful fruit arrangements.
Yeah.
Amazing arrangements of flowers and perfumes all smashed into like this earth tone. Like, and it's so neat when you start growing your own stuff and you realize the freshness you can get. When you dry one of these plants, you let it cure for 20 to 25 days and you pop that jar, you're like, I've never smelled anything like this. So even one of your worst grows could possibly be some of the best weed you've ever smoked in your life.
So true, man. I've had a couple of those runs. That's absolutely true. And, you know, it is interesting because you say there's all these breeders working on all these strains, which is, there's people like Dr. Coco, you know, guest who is into traditional ag and science and things like that, who are saying we're really muddying the gene pool here. We're adding lots and lots and lots of traits to these organisms that could be called upon, and that we're not creating uniformity. We're creating randomness, right? But I think that, man, part of me thinks that that's just part of the plant. It's so easy to breed. They mix so well and they come out so unique and so complex. I almost feel like if you get back to like the botany of desire, right? Like the plant is trying to please us. And I think one of the way that cannabis pleases us is by being so easy to cross and by being so beautiful when it comes out. You don't have to take 7 years to work an IBL line to make your own amazing cross. That's why we have the breeding workshop, which is to like break down these walls. Maybe we are muddying the gene pool a little bit and it's becoming quite random, but I feel like that's part of the ride. I feel like that's part of the plant. And I feel like that's part of the beauty. So yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. It's a great time to be alive, to explore these cultivars and to talk to the breeders. Like you said, you know, like what makes this breeder tick? What are their values? You're going to listen to that interview and you're either going to be like, yeah, I vibe with this guy. You know what I mean? He's got some similar values. Or you're going to be like, nah, like this person doesn't really think about the plant the same way I do. Like that's how you should vote with your dollar, in my opinion.
I think you're right, man. And I think a lot of growers do that too.
For sure.
Almost to a level that is like very personal, right? Like they buy and grow and connect with people that they would connect with in real life. That's the cool thing about this online community, man. Like we're going to meet someday, dude. We're going to fucking smoke a joint together and we're going to be like, this is crazy, man. We're from different sides of the world. We've been on one another's show. We got cool communities supporting us. And now we're going to be able to get high together, right? Now back here to muddying the genetic pools, man. I think you're right on that, man. I think everything comes full circle. And I think it's all part of the process. Some of those cultivars in the early days are still so wanted and sought after that I think like we're going into this weird genetic area where everything is like crossed and manipulated and looking way better than anything ever looked in the past. But I also think like some of us are starting to travel back there now and realize that, hey, some of these old genetics hit me a bit differently. They affect me in a different way. It's like, I don't need this 27% THC bull crap. Oh, what 15 will do, a 10 will do. Like, yeah. And it's so funny how everyone buys into that, man. It's like, holy geez. I was saying a thing the other day on a podcast. I'm like, I honestly think, like, if I was a bad person, that I could take advantage of a following, and I think some people do in this area. I could take a gold jar, fill it full of water, and I could call it terpene juice and start selling it to my community. And there's so much pop hype that we literally buy into this stuff. Do you know what I mean? There's so much hype around growing because everybody's so passionate about it.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, of course, man. And I've seen that in this industry time and time again. I think that, so there's two ways to look at this. I think that that's like the hallmark of an unregulated industry, right? There's a bunch of seed scammers. There's a bunch of account scammers. We're not allowed to go to the authorities like normal people are. So I think that's kind of just part of the territory. But I will say now that things are opening up, there's never been a better time for like innovative, useful, game-changing products. I feel like now there's some really great options out there, in addition to still lots of scammers. I totally agree. But like, yeah, you take a look at some of the, okay, so for instance, let me get specific here. When I used to grow in Humboldt County back in 2012 or whatever, I didn't use any sort of IPM spray during flower because I didn't want to spray anything on my flowers. You don't want any residue. Anything that I was going to spray on my flowers, I was going to end up smoking. So I would just pray. I would just spray until like week 2 and then pray. I didn't have the amazing Dr. Zymes, right? Enzyme-based, zero residue, pet safe, freaking plant safe, all that shit. And that product came on the scene and it completely changed the way that I garden now. So yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of hucksters in our industry, but there's also a lot of room for innovation. And there's probably never been more great products in the market than right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. And I think a lot of people think it kind of begins and stops with like cultivating this plant and selling the bud as product. But there's so many other areas where you can actually get involved, man, like with grow equipment, with new advancements on how to cure and dry, with new technology coming out, with with bags that people are drying in, new grinders. I'm even seeing people come up with new innovative grinders, microscopes, grow glasses, fucking new smoking devices. It's so unique, man. We've got a very booming industry. And I've never looked at it in a monetary way, but if there's people out there that are looking to like build businesses, I think cannabis is a shot where you can really put your money and get a good return, not on the flower itself, but in innovative ways to make this better for us as a consumer and a buyer and a grower.
Oh, yeah.
I really do, man.
Joe, you just nailed it. I talk with people all the time. I do business consulting. People come to me and they say, hey, I love GrowCast. I love what you've built. I want to do something similar. What advice do you have? The first thing that I say to them, no matter how they come to me, not even if it's about GrowCast, they just say, I want to grow for a living. The first thing I say to them is what you just said, which is open your mind to ancillary possibilities. If you want this to be your career, it's probably not a good idea to pigeonhole yourself in cultivation. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pursue that if it's your one and true passion. I am saying it's going to be fucking hard. It's probably not going to be lucrative. And it's going to be a slog. Listen, newsflash, farming hasn't been a lucrative industry historically. I got news for you. It's not a cash cow farming a plant, right? And if we want this plant to normalize like any other plant, that's how I want it. You know, like people get bent out of shape because I do want to protect growers and things of that nature. But to me, making it accessible and making the cost go down to what it costs to produce it, plus a little bit of labor, that's what I feel is the optimal future. I want to get medicine in the hands of patients. Overgrow, again, I want an abundance of this thing. So back to if you want to make it your living, farming ain't easy. Maybe you shouldn't be a farmer. Maybe you should invent a product that helps home growers. Maybe you should do content like Grower Joe does. There's any number of ways that you can provide value to the industry without just growing the flower. And you basically just summarize the first thing that I say to people when they want to join the cannabis industry, which is keep your mind open to all possibilities. You're dead on, Joe.
100%, man. It's just like so many partnership opportunities I had in the past and right now. And it's like, I didn't know this was possible, man. I didn't know it was possible and to be able to just be who I am. So like, I'll partner with brands that like allow me to just do what I do.
Same.
Like, cause I'm growing weed and that's what I'm doing as like my job, but I'm cultivating it so I can tell this story and show people like how to do this. But my end goal, man, is this. My end goal is I think cannabis is going to cure something. And I think it's cancer, man. And I just think it's out there. And I think someone already knows about it that is involved in other medicines. And I think that there's someone out there that's listening to this, they're going to listen to this and something else, or I just motivated something and they're going to watch something that does that, man. And I think that eventually we're going to fucking push this plant to somewhere, man, where it just makes our world better.
Yes.
And I think what I'm doing, man, I found a loophole where I can make enough money to pay my bills, but it's now like my job is to just keep putting out content so people can associate me as a regular person with this plant and know if it's good or bad.
That's a wonderful mission, dude. Holy shit. I mean, you just focus in on that, right? You just become laser focused on that mission. I think that is simple, but powerful and effective for the destigmatization, man.
I just want them to give it a chance. Give it a chance. I don't think everybody should consume this, but I think there's somebody in your life that should be consuming this in one way or another.
It'd probably be good for them. I totally agree, man. I love that approach. I want to talk about these collaborations though, man, because I mean, it kind of goes along with what I was saying. My grow sure looks different than it did 2, 4, 10 years ago. What are some of your favorite partnerships that you've done with products? More importantly, what's like the one gadget that you can't live without now in your garden? I know you've teamed up with people we love like AC Infinity and Petra and all these people, but you tell me, what's your number one can't live without it grow gadget?
Man, I've been fortunate enough to have like a lot of good partnerships and a lot of bad ones. And it's kind of been a journey. Like I've been learning this all on my own, right? Because a lot of people don't do what we do, Jordan. And some of the people that do it in other niches, they're not willing to like really communicate on like what you can really benefit from, how you can bring value, but also pull a bit of monetary gain so that you can pay for what you pay for.
They don't want to share the secret sauce, man.
Yeah, they don't want to tell you how to do it. So I've been telling people how to do it. Like I'm thinking about launching a course to like teach people how I partner with brands. But back to like the product that I absolutely love right now, man, is I'm growing in a basement, man. So and I've got a backyard and I've got a dog and I've got pets. And every now and then, man, I get fucking pests, dude. And I have problems with spider mites and aphids and you name it, dude. And they all come and go. And then I'll take a fucking clone from one of my buddies and he's got something.
That's the
I'm
worst.
literally, dude, it's literally my mini fogger, man, and my fucking crop defender, dude. And I don't know if you've tried that before. I think you have a fogger, don't you?
I do not have a fogger. I've tried the Crop Defender. Great oil-based product. Has a little bit of sulfur in it, interestingly enough. Not enough to cause any sort of negative reaction, but I like how they mixed a little bit of oil with a little bit of sulfur on that product. I've not tried the fogger, dude. That thing looks fucking cool. It looks really cool.
I like it, man, because, like, to be honest with you, dude, I don't have a massive grow, but I grow about, like, right now I've got 16 girls in flower. I've got a few drying in a 2x4 tent here. And then I've got a dome with about probably 40 girls in that, little tiny seedlings that are going to kind of make the cut or not make the cut. And it's a lot of work, man, because I hand water and I like to spend a lot of time in there. And then I'm also filming and documenting it. So to go in there with something and like spray my girls, well, if it's too big, it's going to make a mess. And then I got to spend the time to clean it up. The fogger's the perfect size, buddy. You can really control where the fog's going. You don't get a crazy amount of residue on your walls. You don't really got to clean up. And I'm OCD in there, dude. Like I spill a little bit of water, I wipe it up because I want it to be pretty beautiful, but also not get any problems, right? So the fogger, dude, it's my favorite, man. But then I look at companies like AC Infinity, man. They've been sponsoring me and supporting me since day one, and like allowing me to live things that I never would have been able to live, man. Like I was on a plane once before I started doing this. I've been on planes every couple months now, man, because AC Infinity's given me the ability to fly to some of these places and allow me to do the fun stuff that I want to do. But they're also probably the most innovative grow company for the home grower because they're giving us the ability to control our environment like a pro would control it inside of a warehouse. With the controllers, man, and the new apps, and all the new lighting abilities and the fans and heaters and everything all hooking up through plugs or through devices that they've already made. It's like I can sit here right now and change the speed on my fan. I can change the temperature in my room. I can change the humidity. It's like, what? We couldn't do this before, right?
Yeah, no fucking question.
You got to love shit like that too, man. And there's so many companies out here that are starting to do stuff like that. So shout out to all of them.
I got to dig in because I totally agree. Starting with the fogger, I want to talk about this for a second because you go to create an IPM protocol for your space, and it's kind of silly, but it's true. You need the right sized sprayer. Those shitty little hand pump sprayers that you get from Ace Hardware, you know what I mean? The plastic bottle with the hand pump, those are good for maybe 2 plants. Anything above that, you're gonna kill yourself with that little trigger hand pump sprayer. But then there's the actual pump hose sprayer, which is like the big plastic one that you pump the pressurize it, and then you take the one. That thing's a little too big. You're going to be, like you said, you're going to be soaking your tent. You're going to be spraying your tent. Enter these electrostatic foggers, right? They're handheld. Petra Tools just came out with one, the one you're mentioning. And they're nice because they have like a little light on them. You can see all this stuff. I want to make sure and test, which Mary Beth said it should not be a problem, but I want to go ahead and test what you can and can't put through this thing.
Oh, dude, you can put a crazy amount of stuff through it, man. Crazy.
Because I know it works well with pest sprays, but have you put like microbes through it?
Oh, dude, you can spray microbes through them. Any sort of foliar sprays, anything like that, man. You can literally, and we did it. We did a video way back on our page, man, where they're like, "Oh yeah, but what strength are you mixing it at?" I put it in full strength, man. I poured the whole thing in, no dilution. Just to see. I wasted the product. I didn't spray it on my plants. But then Petra Tools, man, they started spraying everything through it. He would just set them up out on his deck and fill them up and spray them and take a time lapse of his spraying through. The nozzles on them are phenomenal, man. They came out because of COVID. Like these guns, man, originated. I think whoever like invented these guns, they made them for people to go in like sanitize like their rooms.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
And they still sell them like that. And they're a little bit cheaper. Like you can buy them cheaper. Like you can go on and get one for like $29.
Right. Like an Amazon version.
Yeah. And people like give me shit all the time. They're like, why would you promote this product? It's twice the price. Well, Petra Tools actually puts a little bit of research and development into the worst for the grower by putting things like this through it, changing the micron that is spraying through, changing the controller. The tube on the bottom is no longer like a little plastic rod.
Right.
It's made to sit on the bottom so you can get all of your product. There's no wastage. And they put time and effort to advance these products. And if we don't support companies like this
Yes.
and give them a little bit of product, then the fucking innovation is going to stop, guys. 22-year-old kid in his basement that found this product that we know is hot because we're buying it, and he's just buying it and selling it. No research, no return, no nothing. You don't even know if it's going to work.
And by the way, the only way that works is if everyone is copying the innovative design. So you need those companies to keep coming out with new ones. I had no idea, though, that it was like complete. And that's what Mary Beth said was probably the case. It's like completely microbe safe and things like that. Because you got to be careful with larger products. So, for instance, if you have an even larger scale, you might go with an atomizer, like an actual fogger. And those have a couple different types of pumps in them. There's the impeller pump, which I believe is the most common. And that, I mean, impeller, it's like propeller, right? That's going to chop up at least a fraction of the biology that you send through that. Versus like a diaphragm pump isn't going to cause any of that harm on the bacteria and the fungi that you just put into your sprayer because you're an organic guy or you're trying to use a biocontrol, for instance. So if those work in the electrostatic sprayers like I think they do, man, that's a great application. It's fun to use. Very cool product, man. I got to get my hands on one of those.
And I'm just one of those guys, right, that like to have cool things, right? Like,
yes.
And this is one of the ones that makes your job a lot easier in the grow room. Like, I've got a stool in there, man. It's like, I love my stool because it got wheels on it, man. I can roll around and I can like look under the plants and figure it all out. And I just like, I think that's what what we're doing, man. There's like legal growers, these master growers, legacy growers, whatever you want to call them. And then there's this new grower like me, and we're a home grower, but we're like an advanced version of the home grower where we really want these new innovative products to dial in our grow, but we're no scientist.
Yes.
We don't have the ability to dial it into that level, but we're getting some pretty dank quality bud with a low price, man. Like you can start growing now for like $1,000 and you're banging out amazing product.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And you're right. We need to, not to get off topic, but I want to dig into this because this has been keeping me up at night. We need to keep this in mind as the cannabis growing community. Joe, do you ever feel like the cultivation community specifically is very insulated, is very ring fenced? It's all the same people. We don't bust outside of our community very much. We stick to ourselves. I think that if we were to better the world, we should get better at reaching out past the fence to other people. That goes along with the destigmatization. That goes along to the low barrier to entry for home growers. That goes along with the education, teaching people that you can grow this at home. You got to teach new people.
What kind of actions do you think we need to take to make that happen?
I think all you can do is lead by example and speak out on platforms like this and share your ideas, which is, if we're going to get the world to overgrow, we're going to have to reach out to new people. We're going to have to reach out to strangers. We're going to have to reach out to people outside of our community, maybe people with different beliefs than we hold, different backgrounds, different political views. If you really want to make change, like if you're serious about making the world a better place and making an impact, those are the types of things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to talk to people who disagree with your ideas and reach across that aisle.
It was so cool that you say that because I recently just started a new segment and it's me on the street. I don't know if you've seen the recent video, but I go on the street, man, and I just interview people about cannabis, dude. And I'm telling you, man, I feel something there. I know it's special and I know it's groundbreaking for our industry because I interviewed people, man, that weren't comfortable talking about it because they thought they were going to lose their job. Then I met people that were scared about doing it, but they did acid, cocaine, heroin. And I'm like, what? It's just crazy, right? There's so much wildness out there. And it became it's a new part of my show now. I've been transferring from a grower to just be more of who I am. I still grow weed. I still grow cannabis. I always will. But I'm transforming into just being a speaker,
a broadcaster,
kind of positivity about this.
You're a broadcaster.
Yeah. And it's so true, man. We got to do that, Jordan. I think in platforms, guys, if you've got a platform, I've been lucky enough to get a decent sized platform over on Instagram. If you guys got something you need to share, if it's shareable, If it's like neutral shareable, I will share. Like your event, man, you send me that shit. We'll share it. You got a new event coming up, you share it. You got a course, I'll share it. Like I'll share whatever I can, man, to try to get it out there. And I think we
That's
need to do
great,
that
bro.
more, right? And I think like all of us as podcasters and shows, we need to like cycle through people through. Like you got to have you back on the show next year. We got to like, it's the Joe Rogan effect is what I call it, man. Like you see how big he's built his community. It's because he's genuinely building it like a village. It's like bring more people in, build the city. Bring more people in, build the city. And then the more people in that city, the more we can support ourselves. And then more innovative things are going to come out of this. And more people are going to be able to do this for a living if they want. That's something they want to do. And more people are going to be able to do this medically to help themselves if that's something they want to do. It's wild. It's going to happen though.
I just love this idea of like getting in touch with your purpose. Like your mission is so concise, you know, that destigmatization, that showing that I'm a normal guy. That's so fucking powerful to just dial into that. It's the same thing we're doing with the Order of Cultivation, man. Like we're just dialing into Overgrow. Yeah, I'm going to continue to educate my fans and give them bonus content and giveaways and all that fun stuff. But how do we really make an impact? How do we leave a lasting mark on this unique time in history? They look back on Prohibition and they study this shit, man. They're going to study where we are right now. And we are fortunate enough to be a part of this. So I think that's key.
I say that all the time, man, and people think I'm fucking crazy. But I'm like, we are literally making history, dude.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. It's hard to see it sometimes when you're in it. But of course, they're going to look back and study the cannabis boom of the early 2000s. We're in it. We're fucking in it. In 1,000 years, they'll be studying this if we're still around in 1,000 years. So listen, man, I do want to take a little bit of a left turn there before we wrap up the show. I want to talk to you as Joe, the broadcaster, as Joe, the content producer. And I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn with this question, but do you have anybody who's inspired you from a content creation standpoint, even outside of the cannabis realm? I know that there's some shows that I grew up on, for instance, and some broadcasters that I looked up to greatly before I got into this. Do you have anyone like that?
Yeah, man, I was kind of into doing stuff like this before I got into this. So originally it was just like creating content for my job. I was selling vehicles back in the day. I was selling cars and I would just start making videos about the cars and making it comical and making it funny. And I always just wanted to be an entertainer. And then when I tried to like hone in my craft and like start to like learn how to edit and get better at it, it was Peter McKinnon. Peter McKinnon is this photographer, videographer on YouTube, and he's a really gentle soul, man. And he delivers in a real kind of way that I can really, really learn from, man. He's opened me up and taught me some new things. But when it comes to the cannabis side of things, man, I think it's like a lot of people that are doing what I'm doing. It was Mr. Canuck. It was Seed to Stone.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The Dude's Grow Show. It was guys like that, man, that were kind of like laying down a path for us to kind of make what we're doing now. Now, I like to think that I'm pushing away from that sort of content because I think it's kind of, you said it earlier, you kind of pigeonhole yourself as just a grower. And it's a lot of work to just grow cannabis. And sometimes you want to take a break. You got enough to get you through and you want to take a break because whether it's too hot in the basement or it's too much work to really control your environment. And I want to go back to the community at those points and hang around with people there. So now I'm motivated, man, by the people that are around me. Homegrow TV, High Again, Rob from CLTV, Jordan Rivers. I don't know if you ever heard of him. But people like us, man. I think we're motivating one another now. We're all doing unique, different things. And whether it be like the event you put on, it makes me want to put on my own event. I like how you do a full audio podcast, man, because it's so engaging with the people and it leaves this mystery where people go and check out the other account. It's totally judgment free. I just like everything that people are doing in this community, man. I'm motivated every fucking day because I have to be, because we're doing this, man, because like it needs to be done. We're making history. You know what we're doing, dude.
Yes.
We're going to look back at this in 10 years and we'd be like, we might have our own cannabis line. We might have our own equipment line. Maybe we dropped our own lighters. Maybe we came up with something cool. And that shit's all just like part of the ride. It's more like the gravy to the poutine. But the community is the fries. And then the companies that come in and support you, they're the little bit of the cheese curd, and then the gravy just added on top, buddy. But at the end of the day, it's all a delicious fucking meal. And
Holy shit. Well said, my friend. That's incredible. I totally agree. And thank you for
I'm
those
high
kind
and
words.
tight.
That's great. That's the stinger right there, man. That's fucking perfect. What inspired you to start back when you were selling cars, though? You just like entertaining people?
Well, no, you're right on the cars
Okay.
thing. That's 100% right. But then me and my brother kind of dove into it a little bit, and we're like, man, we've been making this before this. I remember when mom and dad had a video camera, man, with little tiny VHSs that would go in it. We were making videos out on the street called Rockwood Sockham. So we lived in Rockwood Court, which is this small place in the north end of the city. We really didn't have a whole lot of money, but we would go outside and make these videos. So there was a show called Rock'em Sock'em, which is an NHL show by Don Cherry, where they do top hits, biggest saves. And we would plan it. So we were like, all right, we're going to come down and shoot on the left-hand side, and you try to make a glove save.
Oh, wow.
We'd come down, record it, make glove saves. Then we'd lay down a piece of paper and we'd zoom in on that, and there'd be best shots, but it'd be written, and we'd videotape that. And then we'd hit pause, and then we'd do the next shot. If it didn't work, we rewind and record again, right? Because we didn't have editing then, right? We didn't have a computer. So we would edit right inside of the video. So I think it's kind of helped me do what I do with my content, because a lot of, you said at the beginning, it's how do you get so much content out? And to be honest with you, a lot of it's on the fly, man.
Yes.
I'm editing as I'm recording. I know what I want to talk about. I'll one take it. I'll take the next take from a different angle. I take the next take from a different angle. And then I've got my video made without editing, man. So I wasn't motivated to make it. I think I kind of just been a creator my whole life. Even if we put on a party, we go above and beyond, man. We just like to entertain. I think if we were back in the day, we'd be some sort of crazy jester or something, making the king laugh or something.
Yes, I totally see that about you, man. I've got that gene too. A little bit of Jordan River history. I thought I was going to be a musician when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, before I left for Humboldt County at 20. I thought I was going to be a musician, right? I thought that was the path for me. I was going to entertain people through music.
Got the name for it too, man. That would have been a pretty good name, dude.
Did not work out. Music is very hard to make a living in. And I thought that it was what a big waste of my life. Guys never think that way. Your experience is so much more valuable than any monetary gain. Because guess what ended up happening? I used every ounce of audio knowledge that I gained from trying to make beats, right? And now I'm producing a podcast. I use the same program. It's all the same. It's all just sound waves. I went from instrumentals to vocals. And when I decided to podcast, I literally said, oh, I can cut out the entire step of learning how to do this because I already fucking know how to do it. So follow your passion, man. Follow your original passion. That is the biggest advice that I have. And look at you. You went from making videos in your cul-de-sac as a kid to making videos 30 years later and getting paid for it, man. So very, very cool. I love that story.
Yeah, man. It's a pretty cool story, man. And the video part is that's what I like doing the most, man. When I can make a informative video that helps a new grower. And keep in mind, guys, I'm not an advanced dude. I don't talk like a science grower. I keep it pretty simple, man. I follow a process that works for me over here in my garden with the same medium, same nutrients, different genetics throughout the time. I try to keep my temperatures at specific levels so that my room is as good as it can be down here in the basement and kind of just get it done. But my main thing I like doing, man, is making content. I like making videos. So if you guys like watching that stuff, then you guys come and hang out and I'll answer any of your questions. I'm here to find the best grower. He's out there, man, and I'm going to fucking motivate him. And then hopefully he'll just send me weed, man. Cause
aren't you allowed to do that in Canada?
Yeah, man, we're allowed to send weed back and forth, dude. I got some guys, man. I'm smoking this rosin right now from my buddy 420 Things. Shout out to 420 Things. He sent this over, man. It's so ooey gooey, sniffy, whiffy, man. It just makes you want to smoke more of it, man. I've been doing dabs lately, dude. I'm on the dab train. You on the dab train at all?
I'm on the dab train, my friend. All aboard the dab train. Yeah, I'm all about it. But man, am I jealous? I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. We still send things here south of the border. Don't get me wrong. But you're allowed to just pack it up and ship. That's so fucking cool. You don't even worry about it. Just toss it in the mail. Very cool.
Throw it in the mail, man. You got to throw it in you still like, there's a little bit of a political thing happening somewhere deep inside the post office. It's like, if you don't put it in a smelt proof container, one of these Betsy burnouts will friggin' toss it on. And they won't snatch it. I think they just like, they're against it. So they'll just return it to you. Like, they're like idiots. They're like, weed in there? That's bad.
Send
That's
back.
Devil flat.
To return to sender. Oh, man. That's wild.
It shows
shit.
up and I'm like, shit, did I get more weed? What the hell? This is cool.
But listen, man, if people want to find you, want to find those videos, where do you send them? Your IG? Give out all your everywhere people can find you.
100%, guys. Come find me over on Instagram, Basement Grow Show, and on YouTube, The Basement Grow Show. I've also got a show over on Twitch, but it's paused right now, so I won't send you over there. But yeah, man, come on over, guys. Send me some pictures of your grows. Comment on some of my stuff, man. If you got any questions that are going to help you get started or help you point you in the right direction, if I don't get the answer, I can send you to a creator, a grower that I know in my community that will definitely help out. So it's been a blast, man. I love your community. You got a great batch of people over here, so I'm sure they're stoned just like me. So shout out to them.
Oh, yeah,
sure,
man.
you guys
this was a great episode, man. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for coming on the show, man. You're invited back anytime. Let's keep collabing. Get up on Instagram or something. I'll come and shout you out in one of your live streams, man. Thanks for all you do. Keep it up, Joe.
100%, dude. Thanks for having me, man.
Heck yeah, man. You got it. Thank you so much, listeners. I appreciate you. See everything we're doing at growcastpodcast.com/action. Jump on that green list. You guys know the deal. Stay tuned. Pestapalooza, also in full effect. Go to pestapalooza.com. That's all for today. This is Grower Joe and Jordan River signing off saying be safe out there and grow smarter. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and thank you to Grower Joe. I'll see you guys at Pestapalooza. That's right, this weekend, July 29th and 30th in San Diego and LA. Plus, we're on Zoom. Hop on and grab a Zoom ticket, everybody. Come to Pestapalooza and you will receive a massive Pestapalooza goodie bag with IPM spray, seeds, Viroid coupon, an identifying guide, Jordan's IPM plan. It's a really badass gift bag. Plus, you get dinner, you get the catered after party, and this is all on top of the 2-hour masterclass and 1-hour Q&A learn and burn. Don't miss this event. Pestapalooza is one of the most unique events in cannabis, if I do say so myself. Matthew Gates is going to drop some knowledge. Any questions you have about insects or pathogens, we will get them answered. So come and see us, everybody. And if you can't make it, grab a Zoom ticket. We'll still send you the digital resources, and you can attend the masterclass and the Q&A. Up-level your IPM game. Learn to identify harmful insects, beneficial insects, you name it. Pestapalooza, baby. I'll see you at the end of the month. Thank you so much to all the students of Pestapalooza, and thank you to Matthew Gates. See everything we're doing at growcastpodcast.com/classes, and hopefully I'll see you soon so you and I can smoke one together. I'd love to try something from your garden. Hope you're doing incredible out there, listeners. Don't touch that dial. We got some good content coming, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone. Be safe.
Part of the ride. It's more like the gravy to the poutine, but the community is the fries.